Hi folks, how you all doing? Cross6 here. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate that. And if you can just take a minute, just a second in fact, just to hit that like and subscribe button. Go and do it now. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free of charge, non-gratis. Go and do it. It really helps the channel out and it helps me grow the channel. So you want to do something good today, hit that like and subscribe. Anyway, on with today's gameplay. We are in the Grille 15 on Hinterland. This is a really, well, it's a frustrating tank to play, in my humble opinion. Well, perhaps I should have L plates on it, because I obviously can't drive it properly. But it is a decent tank in its own right. The cannon very rarely lets you down. It's got nothing for armour, absolutely zero for armour. So effectively that means you can't go running out there because you can't absorb, well, you could absorb shots, yeah, for sure, but you'll be going back to the garage very quickly if you try to do that. I really like this map, Hinterland. It's quite a decent map. It's a big wide open map, and we should have more maps like this in the game, I think. What do you think? I really like this map. It's just, you feel like you can actually go places on this map, you know, and try and do the best that you can. It's not always possible, of course, because sometimes you just get annihilated. Mullered is the term over here. You get mullered from the bother boys with the big boots. Oh, here we go. I'm going off on one again. But as I say, the good thing about this tank is the cannon. The cannon is pretty accurate, and when you do hit and pen, you do an average of between 700 and 800 damage, so that's pretty good really overall. But it's just one of these tanks you need to hug the red line. You just can't push out there anywhere, and even in the second half of the match, you know, when there's hardly anybody left, yes, you can kind of push out, but you got to be so careful because it's an open turreted tank with pretty much zero armour. It'll just wipe you out. It really will. And out of all the battles I've had in this tank, I find this tank, it's like playing a game of golf. You know, when you hit that perfect shot and you think, oh god, I love this game, this game's great, I love it, and then for the next 5, 6, 7 shots you try to aim your shot and it goes nowhere near to where you're aiming, and you get really frustrated with it. Well, that's the same with this tank for me personally. I'm sure there's other players out there that do exceptionally well in this tank, and have got it all dialed in and they know exactly what they're doing in the tank, and fair play to them. But it is a fairly decent tank, and the cannon doesn't let you down very often, I have to say that, because that's quite important in regards to, well, any tank in the game really. You want a fairly decent cannon. But a lot of these Russian tanks, don't they? They've got the big depth guns like the ISU 152K. I've just played a game on what's the name of the map? Airfield. And all my shots were just missing, bouncing, and I was just, oh, you know, it does get quite frustrating, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, the RNG element of this game, that's for sure. But we're not going to let that deter us. We're going to do the best that we can. The other downside, one of the cons to this tank, is the camo rating. The camo rating isn't particularly great on this tank, so you do get spotted quite easily if you're not careful. Hence the reason why you've got to sit back. It's a sniper. And a lot of people will criticise you for sitting back and trying to stay hidden and trying to get the shots in when you can, try and be sneaky beaky, but you just can't do it all the time. There's a lot of the maps, something like mines or something like that, you're stuffed, because as soon as the game starts, 9 times out of 10 you'll get spotted very early on, which, you know, in a tank with no armour, it's not going to bode well for you really, is it? To be quite honest. But this game turned out to be not too shabby for me. It was alright. I think I did my part, but you'll see by the end of the game anyway, and see what you think, see how I performed out on the battlefield. Everybody gets so worked up, don't they, you know, if you're not doing a particular thing a particular way that they want you to do it. How many times do people suffer from that? You know, they have a right old pop at you because you're not doing what they want you to do. But I don't know. Who am I to think that you play your own game and you play it as best as you can, to the best of your abilities? That's what they say, innit? Play it to the best of your abilities. As long as you have fun, that's all that matters. Yeah, okay, keep going. And of course, the Grille 15, it basically replaced the Waffenträger auf E100 that used to be in the game. I wish they'd bring that tank back, I really do. I know that this latest auction thing that's just passed, I know the Chinese server, they got the Waffenträger auf E100, and what do we get? That almost Caliban type tank. It says a lot, really, doesn't it? Eh? But the Grille 15, and this is the interesting thing for me. Actually, it was one of these tanks that actually was made in World War II by the Germans. 1942 it was made, apparently. And yeah, really good tank. I love this tank. I do like it. It's as I said, it's a really frustrating tank to play. And the only good thing that's going for it, well, there's a couple of things going for it, but mainly it's the gun. Let's be honest about it. The gun is what it's all about, isn't it, in this game? And if you've got a crap gun, it doesn't matter what sort of tank you've got. If you've got a crap gun, you're not going to last very long on the battlefield. But thankfully, the Grille 15's got a fairly decent cannon on it. Pity about the camouflage rating on it. You can't have everything now, can you? I mean, you can't have too much fun in this game, you know, staying hidden and doing loads of damage and getting loads of kills and become a unicum, and then do really, really well and become a super unicum. Or perhaps a community contributor. No, you're right. Thanks, but no thanks. I've got a life. Well, kind of. Other than playing tanks. Although I've been playing some Call of Duty as of late. So I might bring you a little bit of footage of that if you're interested. I do like the World War II stuff, though. And the new game, the B-17 bomber, the Mighty 8th, is coming out, I believe, in September. I think it's the VR variant of it. But looking on the website, it does say that you don't need a VR headset to play it. So we'll just have to wait and see and reserve our judgment on that. But I'm really looking forward to that getting released. But as I said, I just love the World War II stuff. I really do. So I'm just making my way over here, and I saw that there was a couple of tanks just starting to flank round, and I thought, well, perhaps I'll be a bit more useful over here, try and stay hidden and see if I can get a few sneaky little shots in, because that's all you can really do in the Grille, because you can't push. And it's not a bad thing, because it means effectively that you've got to sit back and pick your shots, and hopefully you pick the right ones to shoot it and do the maximum damage if you get full penetration. You do bounce a few shots in this, I have to say, especially off a lot of these tanks with quite heavily armoured turrets, something like the IS-7. Just forget about it, don't shoot it at its turret, that's for sure, because you'll never pen it. Not in this thing anyway. And of course, the other thing you've got to consider in the Grille is don't try firing on the move, because it's just you'll never hit your target, hardly ever. It couldn't hit a band or a 2 foot in front of it if it's moving. It really is that bad. But if you sit back and get yourself into a position, try and be a support vehicle for your heavies in front of you, and hopefully they can give you a bit of protection so that you can contribute to the game effectively. But an interesting fact about this tank is that in 1942, when the Germans were actually started to design this tank, it actually came into fruition in 1943, but it actually didn't get the cannon on it that it's got now until 1944, believe it or not. It's interesting, that, isn't it? Eh? See what life I lead? See the exciting times I lead? It's just non-stop, on the edge. I'm on that precipice of life. You know, you can fall either way, you know, down to your doom. What an exciting life I lead, I really do. I'll tell you, another tank I wish they'd bring back is the Death Star, the FE215B183. Oh, I love that tank, man. That was great. That was such a great tank, because it had a bit of armour on it, so you could take a few shots, you know. Somebody could shoot it and you would bounce shots in that tank. Alright, not very often, granted, but you would still bounce shots. I just loved that tank. It was great. I had that on the console. I still got it on the console, believe it or not. I haven't played the console for ages, but because I kind of migrated over to the PC with my buddies, and I'm glad that we did, because the PC variant of this game it just far exceeds what you get on the console by a long mile. By a long mile. But I played the Death Star on the Death Star, seeing its heyday. The Death Star used to be one shot, one kill, and then they brought the FE4005 in. Now I had the FE4005 on the PC, but I just got so frustrated with it, because it was just so lackluster, and hit and miss with the shots. You know, you'd fire 3 shots and miss, and then you get that one shot and you do 600 damage, 700 damage, and it never used to be like that. It used to be 1 shot, 1 kill. And I always remember, and I've said this in a previous video way back, and that was whenever you used to see the lineup on before the game started, and you saw a Death Star, you'd think, oh, I've got to stay out of the way of that cannon, because I know if he sees me and he gets a shot at me and hits me in pens, it's game over for me. I'm back to the garage. And it was a revered tank. And then obviously, you know, you had your moaning ninnies, shall we say, that was all complaining, saying, it's not fair, it's not fair, he shot me and one-shot me and sent me straight back to the garage. And that's not fair, it's not a balanced game. So of course Wargaming listened to them and unfortunately acquiesced, and they decided to nerf the Death Star and the FV4005, and it didn't make it unplayable, but it made it not as exciting as it used to be, or not as much fun as it used to be. And I remember me and my buddy Booty 44 Dennis, we used to play the Death Stars and all that kind of, and we had such fun in them tanks, we really did. And it wasn't so much of seal clubbing, it wasn't, because you only had a certain amount of shells and not every round was guaranteed to hit and pen. But boy, when you penned, it was pretty much a 1 shot, 1 kill. And that made that tank exciting, and it made it really fun to play. And I think they should bring them tanks back into the game. What do you think? I do. I genuinely, seriously think they should bring the Waffenträger V100 back in, and the Death Star back in. I know a few years ago, and I think it was one of the auctions that they had, they brought the FE215B183, the Death Star, back into the game, that you could put a bid on. It went for something crazy. I don't know, it was something like, correct me if I'm wrong, something like 18 million or 20 odd million silver or something for this thing. And you think, what? You're taking a piss? Bloody hell, it's only pixels on a screen, what's wrong with you? But that's the way it was. But I just wish they'd bring it back in, because it was a really fun tank, it really was. So we got a nice little shot in there at the Jagdpanzer E100. Again, heavily armoured tank, but you get around the side of the back of him and you pen him quite easily. But the game's just about over now, so it's really just a case of just trying to do the best that we can, try and get as much damage as I can before one I either get spotted and slapped silly. And of course, over here in Blighty, we're going through this fuel crisis at the moment. I don't know what it's like where you are, but over here it's a bit of a nightmare at the moment. We've got this this part of government called Ofgem, and what they do is they monitor energy companies and what their prices are for the amount of fuel and all that kind of stuff, of what they can charge you. And it's ridiculous now. It's got to the point where people are not going to be able to heat the homes, and especially we've got winter just around the corner, haven't we? You know, but these people, do you see these politicians? They are absolute pond-dwelling, scum-sucking mutants. They really are. These bloody politicians, they all get subsidised by the taxpayer over here. So that's the reason why they're not worried about it, why they don't get, you know, upset about it. My thought on this is simply, any politician, before they become a politician, have to live a life of, you know, the average normal working person. You know, of struggling and striving, just trying to make ends meet and trying to put food on the table and pay bills and all that, instead of these lovies that, you know, suddenly get thrust into the limelight in Westminster, become a politician. I mean, let's be honest about it, they wouldn't know the truth if it jumped up and bit them in the arse. They wouldn't know the truth. And try getting a straight answer out of any politician anywhere in the world, you got more chance of winning the bloody lottery every week for the next 3 years on the trot. And this is what I find so frustrating over here, is that they're talking about putting a price cap now, that it's going to go up to £6,000 a year. Think about that, £6,000 a year is just, it's horrific. It really is. And people, they're just trying to force people into poverty, and they're being quite successful at it as well. And I just can't believe, as the British public, that we're actually putting up with this shite. I can't believe that we are actually putting up with this shite. That, you know, I mean, if this was America, the Americans would be out and they'd be, nah, ain't happening. Not on our watch, it's not happening. But over here in Blighty, I don't know what it is, we get masses of immigrants that are all illegally landing on our shores and are all put up in 5-star hotels, fed, watered, clothed, given phones, money. And I just think, what is going on these days? What is going on? I'm not adverse to helping anybody that needs help if you're genuine. But if you enter into a place illegally, no, I'm sorry, you came here illegally. But anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox in regards to that, because I could bang on about that for hours. But anyway, we're coming to the final 10 seconds of the game, and it's looking like it's going to be a draw, because there's no way I can take the rest of the tanks out in 3 seconds. I'm not that good, unfortunately. Unless I've skills for you, of course, that's a different matter. But he's a very, very good player. But anyway, on to the end plates, and we'll see how we did. So we did just under 4,000 damage, lost some credits. There you go. Anyway, till next one, take care, bye-bye.